Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another episode. And I'm truly excited to welcome Hubi Hussein, to this forum. Hubi, I would invite you to, tell us a bit about who you are.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ben, for giving me this opportunity. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. Uh, so my name is Hubi Hussein. I have a bachelor degrees in international relations and I majored in peace and conflict studies. I have I have a master's degree in international relations and I also majored in the same thing, peace and conflict studies. And I also have a second master's in social justice from Lakehead University. I just graduated not long ago, like I think 10 months ago. And that is just it. We're just chilling right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's good to chill. I mean, having gone through the bachelor's, two master's programs, you deserve every chilling time. Uh,
Of course, yeah, but we are rethinking about going back to school again.
oh, really?
I mean, with your help, yes.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, two master's degree, you might need a little bit of a time to relax a bit, but I mean, for sure, if you want to go back to school, why not? Thank you, Hubi. Peace and conflict studies seems to feature in both of the masters, that you did. Why peace and conflict studies?
So the reason as to why I did international relations, actually, I never had um, this idea of doing international relations when I was in high school. I mean, as a child, I used to say I want to be a doctor, like anybody. I mean, like being a doctor has always been every child's dream, especially a neurosurgeon, because I used to read like the gift.
It wasn't my dream.
I mean, I'm talking about the majority of kids. So it was my dream to be a doctor. Then my second year of high school, things were tough. I didn't like chemistry, and I was like, this is not something I will do. Then after high school, I wanted to do, this is funny, aeronautical engineering.
Okay.
So I was in the process of applying. They told me I didn't have physics, which I didn't, to be honest. And they told me I have to, there's something back home called um, bridging. So I was told to bridge physics for 6 months.
Mm.
So I told myself 6 months is actually 2 semesters in the university. So what other option do I have? So I spoke to my sister and she was like, you know what? I think IR suits you because you talk too much. Yeah, she was like, yeah, you talk too much, and I think IR suits you. And I think it has always been an influence from my dad because he was in the army. So I always liked anything to do with security. Also,
Mm.
my father was also in the army. So I'm a military kid. So
Oh,
I think that is why I went to the peace and conflict studies. And other than that, there was also this aspect of name calling in Kenya, especially Somalis. Like we had like a very uh bad terrorist experience when I was in high school. That was in 2013,
mm,
the Westgate attack that claimed, I think, 67 lives.
mm.
So after that, I was still in high school. So after that, I had people calling me names like, oh, you're an Al-Shabaab, you're a terrorist because of my hijab and my appearance. It's nearly impossible not to identify as Somali, you know?
Right.
Like to them, Somalis are not supposed to be in Kenya. They're supposed to be in Somalia, like they're foreigners or
Mm.
outsiders. So I think it was more of an influence from my dad's side and my sister saying I talk too much. And also the name calling thing, like you're a
Right.
terrorist, you know?
Right. Wow. Uh,
Yeah.
a lot of inspirations there. Some not so good, particularly that of the terrorism aspect. And I remember when terrorism became prevalent in Nigeria, I took an interest to it. I started studying it, and I was being called Boko Haram for a reason. Not only because I am from northern Nigeria, but also because I focused my research on it, right? particularly so when it was rife around the year 2012. So let's go back to Kenya a bit. You grew up in Kenya,
I was
and
born in Kenya and I grew up in Kenya.
you were what?
I was born and raised in Kenya,
You
yes.
were born and raised in Kenya.
So I'm
So
Kenyan-Somali, emphasizing the Somali heritage.
you are Kenyan-Somali, but you want to emphasize the Somali heritage. Tell us a bit why.
So no, the reason I was
Because if we look at your wrist right now, you're putting on a Kenyan band, right?
this is like our thing. It's a Kenyan thing.
So, but you say you are Kenyan Somali, but you emphasize the Somali, but then you have the Kenyan one here. Tell us a bit about this hyphenated identity.
So the reason as to I'm calling myself a Kenyan Somali, it's because I feel like I'm in between a lost identity.
Mm,
So I mean, I will call myself a Kenyan, but to a regular Kenyan, I'm not just a Kenyan, I'm Somali. I am
mm,
Somali before Kenyan. So to them, I'm a foreigner. So
mm.
instead of just letting them call me the Kenyan Somali, I just call myself a Kenyan Somali because nationally I'm a Kenyan, ethnically I'm Somali.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
So I'm
that
just in between two identities.
yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. So, in terms of citizenship, you are
I'm a
Kenyan.
Kenyan,
Uh,
100%.
But then, just like with every post-colonial society, you have people identifying first and foremost with their ethnicity. You would also say your ethnicity is Somali.
Yeah,
Is
Somali.
Somali an ethnicity, or is there something? Are there many ethnicities or clans? Tell us how that works. Is Somali an ethnicity, or is it a nation? I know also this terminology is a little bit
There's Somalia
conflated.
nation. So sorry, there's Somalia as a nation, then there's Somalia as an ethnicity. Then inside Somalia, there's a clan, and all those things. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So within Somali, it is structured in a clan format, right? So
Yep. Yeah.
Somali is this whole nation, which is also a country in a way. Somalia also. There is Somalia, there is also Somaliland.
There's actually so Somali is a federal state. Then
Okay.
inside the federal state, we have a member state like Somaliland, Puntland, Jubaland, Southwest, Hirshabelle, Galmadud, and I think that's all.
Oh,
I think
wow.
that's all. Yeah.
Okay. And would you say all these bifurcations were as a result of colonization?
I
Or,
believe so, yeah.
or how did you come by all these categories?
I think it was because of colonization. Like I know Somaliland was because of what happened in 1991, before 1991 during Siad Barre period. But I think this is all based on the pre-colonial leaders. Like when I mean, this is what I'm trying to say, like
Mm,
based on what I believe what Mamdani was, I mean, our famous author, Mahmoud Mamdani. He mentioned something about there's nothing like permanent minority or permanent majority. It's just simple survivors
mm,
of our violent post-colonial period that was arranged by our failed
mm,
political pitfall of our
mm.
political leaders, even
Okay.
in Kenya as well. Yeah,
So in the case of the Somali nation, it would be the British, it would be the Italian, right?
Italians and British. Yeah.
The Italians and the British. Okay,
Yep.
okay, I see. Thank you for a bit of that history and also alluding to Mahmoud Mamdani's
Yeah.
book. Now, let's go back to Kenya. So you grew up in Kenya, you were born in Kenya. How was it like? You know, did you feel growing up that you had another identity and ethnicity that could also be linked to another country, right? Or another nation that may not necessarily be within Kenya, but within Kenya is also outside of Kenya. How was it like? Did you feel like you said, people were calling you all sort of names, you belong to
Yeah.
Somalia and all, and even for you, you said you emphasize Somali or Somalia as your ethnicity. Did you feel at some point that there was a need to link up with that country, that you connect, you feel this sense of connection, and have you linked up with Somalia at some point?
So yeah, so So I think, no, I don't think. I know I have a first-hand understanding of the struggle that comes with identity and belonging, because growing up in Kenya as a child, I was constantly reminded that I do not belong there. I'm not supposed to be there. I do not fit in the dominant narrative of a Kenyan society, which, by the way, doesn't favor an outsider,
And
especially
what is that dominant narrative?
like, so like, I'm trying to explain, like, especially when you have a Muslim name and you're a Somali, it's actually impossible not to identify as Somali. They call us, like, in Swahili, they say nywele nyepesi, which means like soft hair. So it's
Mm,
very easy to identify as Somali. So to them, you're not supposed to be in that Kenyan, what is it
mm.
called? Uh,
I mean,
society.
so nationhood.
Yes, that one. As long as you're not a Christian or you're not, uh, you're not, how do I say this?
Would you
Like
say skin color was part of that identification also? Your skin color?
Allah.
Your skin color, yeah.
Sometimes they believe that Somalis are a bit fair, like light skinned.
Okay.
So yeah, it could be the hair, the skin tone, and I mean, yeah, the language as well. So, uh, so especially if you have like a Muslim name and you're a Somali.
Mm. Because the fact of the matter are so many scholars or even people who, especially like myself, who might have experienced things like this, is that you are rejected by people you feel connected to. So it is confusing, right? It is
Okay.
confusing that we both grew up here. I was
Yeah.
born here in Kenya. My ancestors have been here in Kenya, and they have lived here for I don't know how many hundreds of years. And then because of my skin color, because of my religion, after a while, for some political reasons or religious reasons or the other, all of a sudden I become a foreigner. I become recategorized as a non-citizen. So
Yeah.
it is a confusing situation, to be honest, because we use all sort of, you made mention of Mahmoud Mamdani. He will talk about the indigenous identity. He will also talk about the autochthonous identity, the sense that the land bears the name of certain people. And the
Mhm.
land bears the name of those people because their ancestors came from that land many years ago. But, almost everybody could make, such a claim, right? And we
Yeah.
have seen this in Cote d'Ivoire. People who were recategorized as non-citizens were called, they came no-goes. People who came and refused to go. In fact, at some point, they were told to trace their villages, right? And if you can't trace your lineage to any village,
Yeah.
then indeed you do not belong there. And even the Cote d'Ivoire, I think the Ivorian president at some point had that issue. So indeed, it is a confusing. I do understand that it is a confusing phenomenon. But how have you managed that so far? People calling you names and all that. How does it feel, to be called a foreigner in your own country?
Can I start again from answering the question you
No,
asked?
no, no. How does it feel to be called a foreigner in your own country? Like, what kind of feelings does it engender in you whenever that happens to you? Could you cite one example? For example, maybe somebody calling you a foreigner. How did you respond?
To be honest, I've been called names before, especially in a matatu. For those people that do not understand what matatu is, it's a public transportation in Kenya. So I remember in 2015 when we had a recent, I mean, when we had the terrorist attack that claimed 147 lives at one of the universities in Kenya. I was with my sister in a public vehicle and somebody just came and he was like, why are you guys pretending to be wearing like a proper Muslim? You guys are killers. You're not supposed to be here. Go back to your countries. Honestly, I really wanted to say something, but in
Mm,
my head, I was like, what if all these people have the same assumption? Like they're thinking like him. And my sister was like, Hubi, don't say anything because my sister knows me with my loose mouth. I can say something, you know. But thanks to God, there's somebody that came to my rescue and he was like, you cannot be ashamed of yourself. The
mm,
country is in a critical situation. You cannot attack anybody like this. I
mm,
mean, not every Kenyan shares that perspective of that particular person.
mm,
There are people that do not believe it's an ethnicity thing or religious thing. It's just an individual trying to portray what it's
mm,
not there.
mm,
So I mean, to be honest, it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible feeling
mm,
because I will excuse that man in a public vehicle. But what I can't excuse is what happened to me in 2018 was when I was writing my research paper. I was writing about how social media has been used as a tool for radicalization among the youth in Kenya. And one of the professors, when I was, this is actually when I was defending my paper, he called me, Hussein, you cannot write this paper. And I was like, what's your reason? And he said, because you're a woman, Somali, and a Muslim, don't touch anything on national security. So it didn't make sense to me because why would you, as a professor, as a security professor, you're not supposed to even say such a thing. And it was like, if you write something on national security, the national people, then the security people will come for you asking you questions like, are you collecting information for the terrorists? So it was actually, I think, a month after we had an attack in Dusit where 11 people were killed, including my friend who was killed there as well. So it didn't make sense to me. Imagine a professor telling you cannot write this because you're a Muslim woman, not just Muslim, Somali. Yeah, it's a horrible, horrible feeling. Yeah.
Well, I'm
Even,
sorry to hear about your friend
yeah,
as
I
well.
mean, I got used to it at some point, to be honest.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
because it didn't start recently. It started after high school when I went to apply for my national ID. So I had all the documents ready. Everything was just set. And I took my documents to the registrar's office. And she was like, oh, madam, you have to come with your area chief. And I was like, okay, I understand, but you didn't tell these other people the same thing. So why me? It was like, oh, you have no idea you're Somali. You're supposed to be vetted. I was like, oh my God, this is a shame because I'm a Kenyan just like any other person. Yeah, it's a horrible feeling.
Right. No, I'm sorry that you had to experience all this, bigotry and name calling. And, despite everything, though, you said to us here that you are a proud Somali as well as a proud Kenyan. So that says a lot, about your spirit. And you even you wear the stuff on your wrist, you carry it around. So that speaks volume. And so from Kenya, you moved to where?
I moved to Canada.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, so I came to do my second master's in Thunder Bay, a place I've never heard of. I
okay.
mean, so yeah, I came to do social justice in Thunder Bay. Yeah.
Never heard of, but you took the leap.
I mean, yeah, it's in life we always
Okay.
risk it, yeah.
And after your whole master's, would you say it was a risk worth taking?
To be honest, yes. I I made wonderful friends. I had good professors, and I mean, social justice made me view the world in a different view that I didn't expect. But if you ask me, did social justice prepare me for what's happening right now? I honestly don't know because I mean, there's a way I want to say I know that it has prepared me, but with all this misinformation that is going around, especially what's going on in Palestine and Israel, there's a lot of misinformation like going on right now. And instead of us fighting the injustice, we just choose not to say a word because we're afraid to pick a side, which is
Mm,
very unfortunate.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. I mean, we could even set up another episode, to be honest, to discuss the horrible, horrible atrocities going on in Gaza at the
Yeah.
moment, how everyone seems to be going on with their lives, right? Because, I mean, it's not affecting them. And like you said, people taking side, not on the side of justice.
Yeah.
But again, exactly what happened to you in Kenya, on the side of whether you feel a sense of belonging, to the parties at war. And I would say it's actually just one party waging war on another currently. So at Lakehead, you did, social justice. And what was your research about?
Oh, so my research was the politics of contested identity and belonging, a case study of Kenyan and Somalis. I mean, Kenyan Somalis.
Okay, interesting. So you brought your experiences from Kenya
Yeah.
here to Lakehead to investigate further
Yeah.
how your contested, identity in Kenya has been an issue for you and also other people like you. And
Mhm.
what were your findings then, having done this research? What would you say you've learned from being a Kenyan Somali? And what would you tell other people going through the same, identity contestations as you?
So one thing I learned from when I was carrying my research is that Kenyan-Somali, I think Kenyan-Somali is the only group in Kenya that has this hyphenated identity, which has cast further doubt in their Kenyanness, like they cannot be placed anywhere. So this hyphenated citizenship has created a conditional status whereby, in the eyes of a Kenyan, anybody that bears a Kenyan Somali name is either a foreigner or an outsider,
Mm,
which implies to them that they're a threat,
mm,
which what is it called? Which rekindles the memories of either the shifter war that happened in the 1960s or the recent attacks that happened
mm,
in Kenya. So it has also created a situations of two group, the formal citizens and the non-citizens, whereby the non-citizens have become strangers in their own country.
mm,
And
mm,
I mean, these are the Somalis now, the non-citizens who have become strangers,
mm,
which is very funny because we're from the same community, the so-called the bona fide citizens. So,
mm,
I mean, for those people going through the same thing, I will just tell them to believe in what
mm.
they feel is right for them. Because to me, if you decide to call me names like Al-Shabaab or go back to your country, you're telling me to go back to a country I've never even gone to. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, like the immigration or migration is something that will never stop. Everybody is new to a place.
Right.
So
Mm.
do we say like,
And you came to Canada, right?
yeah,
And
exactly, that's the
do
point.
you feel here you're still in Canada? Do you feel that in a way your experience in Kenya is a bit different here in Canada? Has it changed for you? So in Kenya, you were called a Somali and that you should go back to your country. How do you feel being a Kenyan Somali in Canada?
So being a Kenyan Somali in Canada is not an issue for me right now. For me, an issue being in Canada is being called black.
Oh,
Yeah. Because
despite your skin tone. Okay.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm still black in the eyes of a non-black person. So yeah, so I was told one time to go back to where I came from,
You
which
were
was
told one time here to go back where you came
yeah.
from. Because not because to go back to Kenya now or Somalia or wherever, somewhere in
No,
Africa.
I mean go back to Africa, not Somalia or Kenya, go back to Africa.
Wow. Like what
Yeah.
happened?
Sorry.
What happened?
So I was in Walmart. So what happened is, I mean, Walmart especially during Easter or Christmas, the store is very busy. So my cat and someone's cat got in contact and I actually apologized. And I don't think she had me because I was wearing a mask by then. It was during COVID time. And so she said something to me. I will not lie to you. It got to me. I cried. I
Hmm.
went to a different island. I cried. So one lady came to me and she was like, "Oh, I saw somebody insulting you. I'm so sorry on her behalf." And it happened that that lady was a lecturer from Lakehead, but I've
Hmm.
never seen her. So I went to a different aisle doing my own things, and the lady came again and she was like, "Oh, it's you again." At that point, I was like, "No, I have to talk now." So I asked her, like, "Do you have a problem?" And she was like, "Yeah, you're my problem. Go back to where you came from." And she insulted me. Like, I cannot say the insults here because,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah,
Wow. So there is nowhere to run to.
unfortunately, yes.
I mean, when we
Yes.
talk about there is nowhere to run to, there is no physical space per se to run to. That if one is thinking one could be safe anywhere, one could be accepted easily anywhere, is not always the case, even in the most multicultural mosaic like Canada
Mhm.
claims to be. But then at the same time, you said that you've had so many friends here. since you came to Canada, people from so many countries, right? So
Yeah.
it's almost like a paradox, really. On the one hand, there would always be these people,
Mhm.
who wouldn't want your presence, who are affected by your light. Then on the other hand, there are, people also who are beckoning and, crying out, for your presence, right? And you tend to append your sense of self and dignity for the
Yeah.
most part to this other side of people, who accept you for who you are, right?
Yeah.
This is something also that you have experienced here in Canada. So what would you tell other newcomers, like, coming to spaces that they have never been before, like Thunder Bay and even Lakehead University?
Okay, so I think moving to a new place at first is a bit challenging. For me, it took me 4 months to come out of my shell because it was just school and work, school and work. It took me 4 months. I would say that 4 months I was a little bit depressed. Not depressed, but say I was sad. I was lonely. It was during winter. It was my birthday. I didn't celebrate my birthday. So I will say like it's not an easy path, but
Mm,
along the way you'll find nice people that will accommodate you, like will take you out, you will do fun things together, especially in the school setting, like you go to the university, you attend those functions. I mean, it's not easy, but at the long run, like it's actually easy and fun to make friends. I
mm,
mean, to me, I will call myself, I mean, not calling myself, I think of myself as a cultural explorer.
mm.
Having my own having my own personal United Nation with more of an inside joke.
Okay.
So yeah, I think of myself as a cultural explorer. I don't limit myself to one particular group. I go and explore.
I hope I have a seat as one of the permanent members of your United Nations.
You never know, you might be talking to the next Anand or maybe Kwame Ture. You never know.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That is our hope and our dream for you. And so what is the big dream after your social justice masters?
So to be honest, like even when I was still in the university, I used to tell myself I want to work for the United Nations. But the way things are working right now, I just feel like United Nation, I'm sorry, I hope I won't get in trouble for saying this. I just feel like United Nation is just any other useless organization because of what's happening right now. I
Mm,
don't think I even want to work there anymore because of what's happening. I want to work where I feel like I've made a change in
mm,
someone's life, in people's community or
mm,
so I mean, I will still say I want to work for the international organizations, but not particularly United Nations. Or
mm,
maybe in the future, I might be a professor like you. Or
mm.
maybe like your colleague, what's his name? I enjoyed his episode, Dr. Murtala Sala.
Sani.
Sani, yes.
Okay. Well, Sani, if you are listening to this, you are inspiring people with what you do, your business, your professorial duties. That is wonderful to hear
Yeah.
from Hubi. And it is the Ramadan season, Ramadan Kareem.
Thank you so much.
How is it going?
Well, I will say this Ramadan is interesting because we are not fasting for long hours like before. Like
Oh,
in Thanape, we used to fast till I think up to 9:30 p.m. I mean, this time it's around 7:20, 7:30-ish. So it's not that long, but
what
it's
changed?
I think the weather, the climate, I don't know.
Climate change. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so it has shortened, the period for you, and that is exciting. Okay, and thank you very much, Hubi. It's been such a delight
I mean,
chatting.
let me just clarify one thing. When I say it has shortened the period, the fasting period, to me, Ramadan is not about just fasting from dawn to dusk.
Right.
To me, Ramadan is a time for spiritual reflection or self-discipline or devotion. So Ramadan gives me the opportunity to strengthen my relationship with my faith, connect with God, and also foster like the sense of community, like how we eat together,
Hmm.
pray together, celebrate together. That's the Eid celebration, and it also what
Hmm.
is it called? It also Ramadan to me is beyond the physical act of just fasting. It encourages people to, what is it called, to engage in acts of, let's say, charity, forgiveness, kindness, and also
Mm.
like rejuvenating one's soul,
Right.
or or renewing one's faith, or even reminding people the importance of living a life that is guided by compassion, empathy, humility, and devotion to God. To me, Ramadan is just one word: taqwa, fear of God, and conscience of God.
To be honest, I think you have done that so well today. You've reminded us of what it means to be empathetic,
Yes.
compassionate, and to accept everybody as a member, right, of this planet, of this planetary community, if I would put it that way. This is something that you have taught us today through your example of navigating all the identity contestations that you shared in Kenya, but also here in Canada. Thank you so much, and thank you for your bravery. Thank you for who you are, right? And thank you for what you do to humanity. And we do wish you well. We hope that the compassion, the empathy, the care, the consideration you put out there would also come back, to touch your heart and to give you hope to keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ben.
All right.
It's always a good thing to chat with you.
Definitely. See you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.